You'll get that $100 after church. Dear Lord. If you, whatever it takes, you got to pay somebody. Hey, do it. No, but Brother Cox did say that. He said, beware, there's a fox in the house. But I told him afterwards, I said, well, Brother Cox said, what you got to remember is the Bible says it's the little foxes. And I passed it up a long time ago. So I'm safe. I'm good. But Pastor and Sister Michelle, thank y'all for allowing me to speak today. And I did, Sister Michelle texted me, asked me if I had felt anything. And I've been working on a little thought for probably a couple of weeks. But don't worry. I'm not going to try to get 2 weeks worth of stuff in 45 minutes. But anyway, today I would like to speak to you on a thought that the Lord placed in my heart called, I thought I was missing a piece. And it was years and years ago. Savannah, I was hoping she would be here today, but I guess it just didn't work out. But it was years ago. Savannah was in kindergarten, I think. And her teacher had suggested that she read a book. So she sent the book home with Savannah. I think she purchased it for her. And it became a book that we read quite regular. And I know Brother Jarrett one time called me, said something about me and my Disney and my childhood stuff. But I think children books are so good sometimes because they make points we teach our children. And what are we? Nothing more than God's children. And they make some awesome points. And the name of the book was called The Missing Piece. And I don't want to feel like I'm repeating, the places we'll go. But I was going to paraphrase the book and all this, and then it's a short one. But it just missed the point. So I said, I'm going to read it. So today I just want to share with you a simple childhood story that was written by Shel Silverstein. And it was simply called The Missing Piece. And if you notice right here, it sort of looks like Pac-Man. But that is the cover of the book. And he feels like he's supposed to be a full circle. But he's missing the little slice, like the little piece of pie there that looks like a mouth. But she never names it, so as I'm reading, she simply calls this Pac-Man that I call Pac-Man, she simply calls it It. So the story begins like this. It says, It was missing a piece, and it was not happy. So it set off in search of its missing piece, and as it rolled, it sang this song. Oh, I'm looking for my missing piece. I'm looking for my missing piece. Hidey-ho, here I go, looking for my missing piece. Sometimes it baked in the sun, but then the cool rain would come down, and sometimes the snow would fall all around. And because it was missing a piece, it could not roll very fast. So it would stop to talk to a worm or smell a flower, and sometimes it would pass a beetle, and sometimes the beetle would pass it. And this was the best of all. It was the best time of all. And on it went, over oceans it sang. Oh, I'm looking for my missing piece, over land and over seas. So grease my knees and fleece my bees. I'm looking simply for my missing piece. Through swamps and jungles, up mountains and down mountains, until one day, lo and behold, I found my missing piece. I have found my missing piece. So grease my knees and fleece my bees. Wait a minute, said the piece. Before you go greasing your knees and fleecing your bees, I'm not your missing piece. I'm nobody's piece. I am my own piece. And if it was somebody's missing piece, I don't think I would be yours. Oh, it said sadly, I thought I was missing a piece. I'm sorry to have bothered you, and on it rolled, and found another piece, but this piece was too small, and this one was too big. Then this one was a little too sharp. The next one was a little too square. One time it seemed to have found the perfect piece, but it didn't hold it tightly enough, and it lost it. Another time it held it too tightly, and the piece actually broke. So on and on it rolled, having adventures, falling into holes, and bumping into stone walls. And then one day it came upon another piece that seemed to be just right. "Hi," it said. "Hi," said the piece back. "Are you anybody else's missing piece?" "Not that I know of," replied the piece. "Well, maybe you want to be your own piece," it asked. "I can be someone's and still be my own," replied the piece. It fit. Perfectly it fit at last. Wow, could it roll now, because now it was complete. It rolled faster and faster, in fact, faster than it had ever rolled before. It rolled so fast it could not stop to talk to the worm, nor smell any flowers. Too fast for a butterfly to land on, but it could sing its happy song. At last it could sing, "I have found my missing piece." It tried to sing the song, but now it was going so fast that the song came out sounding something like this: "I found my missing grease, I found my missing meese, so grease my meese and freeze my bleeze, I found my missing reese." Oh my! Now that it was complete, it couldn't even sing at all. Oh, it thought, so this is how it is. So it stopped rolling, and it set the piece gently down and slowly rolled away. As it rolled away, it softly sang, "Hidey-ho, here I go. You know what? I'm okay without my missing piece." If we read in Hosea 2:7, it says something like this: "And she shall follow after her lovers, but she shall not overtake them. And she shall seek them, but shall not find them. Then shall she say, I will go and return to my first husband, for then was it better than now." The missing piece. It rolled all over places, mountains, through valleys, through deserts probably, I'd imagine, in searching for what was a missing piece, only to find out at the end of the story, as we read, that, hey, I was okay. I really wasn't missing anything at all. I only thought I was missing a piece. And it was a lie that started at the beginning of time. It was Adam and Eve. It's the oldest trick and lie the enemy has used. He started the war way back then, and he told Adam and Eve they knew what it was like to live in perfect peace. They would walk in the garden in the evening in the cool of the day and walk with the Master, hand in hand, walking through paradise. They had so much to offer. And as I began to look at this picture, I thought, all the pieces that this guy has, but he's focused on the piece that he's missing. And so the serpent said, I know what I'll do. He went to Eve and he said, oh, I can imagine how the conversation must have went. Oh, this is a beautiful garden. You have so many trees and fruits to eat. And I can imagine Eve, as she probably said, oh, yeah, we've got almost anything you want. And she's so excited because her life is perfect. And it's going on, and she's walking with the Master. She's in paradise. And she's bragging and boasting. Look what all I've got. Look what we have to offer. The Lord has given us. And the serpent smiles, and he said, oh, yeah. But you lack one piece. And all of a sudden, Eve's mind begins to go, what once for maybe years was enough, all of a sudden wasn't enough anymore. You're right. I've got everything, but there's one thing that I don't have. The one thing I'm missing a piece. Because we read the story in Genesis, chapter 3, 1 through 6, it says, Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord had made. And he said unto the woman, Ye hath God said, Ye shall not eat every tree of the garden. And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden God hath said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die, for God doth know that in the day that ye therefore you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. Yes, Adam and Eve had it all, but the serpent pointed out the one thing that was missing. Well, you have almost everything. See, you have everything except the one tree. And all of a sudden, nothing existed in Eve's mind but the one thing that she lacked. Eve let the possibilities run through her head. Yes, we have all the trees. We have more than we can eat. But there's one thing we lack. The enemy smiled. Yes, Eve, you have a lot, but you're missing a piece. So she sets off on a journey and partakes of the fruit. Just as the circle called out, it sets out for the missing piece. I have all of this, but I have one piece. And if I don't have it, I'll never be complete. Surely with that missing piece, I will have the ultimate life, Eve thought. I must make it mine. Eve thought, with one thing I lack, I'll be as God. My life will be so much better with this missing piece. Little did she know the missing piece was for her good. You see, the little it, when it had what it thought was its missing piece, it rolled so fast, all of a sudden, he couldn't stop and talk to the worm. He couldn't stop and smell the flowers. The missing piece was for his good, and so was Eve's. Once she partook of the missing piece, it would cost her all the other pieces. No longer would she walk in the cool of the day, nor smell the flowers. The missing piece would change the game forever. After being cast out of the garden, I can hear Eve cry, but I thought the missing piece would complete me. I thought it would add to my life. I thought I must have it. If I lacked it, I must need it. The enemy watched and laughed as they were cast out of the garden. The missing piece was a pretty good card to pull, he thought. I think I'll use this card later on. Now, years later, it's the same old lie that causes people to buy into alcohol and drugs and so many other things. The missing piece can be so many things that we're searching for. Hollywood helps sell it every day. There was a lady ended her life because she said her life was not like the movies. Hollywood told her she was missing a piece because her life was simply just too boring. Hollywood and the enemy sell it every day. You're missing a piece. To God, I could have spoken to that lady. Dear lady, you weren't missing a piece at all. You were complete in Him. Ma'am, the enemy lied. You were enough. And you were fearfully and wonderfully made. Ma'am, you were the apple of God's eye. Ma'am, you were the head and not the tail. His word declares it. The enemy lied to you and blinded you of all your true value. He told you that you lacked when God said you were first and not last, and you were more than enough in Him. Too many times God gives us plane tickets for us to fly, but the enemy has us at the train depot looking for missing pieces. It's the same lie that causes fathers to work themselves to death. I'm scared my child will miss out if I don't. But the child is grown up now, and they did miss out because they missed out on a dad that was always working because he thought his child was missing a piece. Beware of the spirit of the missing piece. It's a journey that takes you further and longer than you want to go, longer than you want to stay. In the end, you find out the missing piece was all just a lie, and you're just fine without the missing piece. You aren't missing out at all, but anything but heartache and misery. Just ask Eve. And in our opening reading, I read of Gomer. It was Gomer who would buy into the missing piece lie. It was strange. Here Gomer is. She's a lady of a bad reputation. She's got a bad history. But yet, Hosea marries Gomer. And it was ironic to me to come to find out as I searched that Hosea actually means salvation. Here Gomer is, she's married to salvation. And you would think that that would be more than enough for anyone. But somehow Gomer decides, you know what, this just isn't working anymore. Because she hears the voice from the enemy. Gomer, you're missing a piece. There's fun out there to be had. There's good times. And salvation is really just holding you back. So Gomer takes and she walks out on salvation. And she said, I'm sorry, but you're just not enough anymore. You see, I feel like I'm missing a piece. And I've just got to go out there and find out if there's life out there. It just seems like there's something that I'm missing. And I've got to go search for it because I just feel like I'm missing a piece. So Gomer takes her stuff and she walks out the door as salvation walks and looks as she walks away. But Gomer's would find out, much like Eve, the only thing she was missing out on was heartaches and pain. The missing piece would not work out like she thought. Gomer, sure, you had salvation and a good life. But you know there's fun to be had. And so she starts to wonder about life out there. She starts on her journey, and I could hear her sing as she would say, here I go, off to find what I believe is my missing piece. She would bake in the sun. Days the rain would fall. There would be nights, surely the snow would fall all around. Because surely she had been missing a piece. She'd been missing out on something. And she would have to find it if she was ever going to be complete. Gomer, you're the life of the party now. Surely you're the envy of everyone in every crowd. Gomer says, funny thing is, I thought the fun and the party would complete me. But I feel more empty now than ever before. Maybe I wasn't missing a piece at all. Maybe I really had it all back home. Gomer wept. Her search for the missing piece had cost her all the other pieces. All the other pieces that she had were gone too now. Now she's empty and missing out on it all. Like Eve, the missing piece only brought heartaches and pain. Somehow Gomer's search for the missing piece landed her on the auction block to be sold as a slave. So no doubt she had lost it all, and now instead of a life missing a piece, she's a life missing life, with no life at all left. When she hears a familiar voice from the crowd bidding, what? It can't be. Hosea, is that you? salvation. Are you still calling me and bidding on me? Hosea, I walked out on you because I said you weren't enough anymore. I was missing a piece of my life, and I chose to walk out in search of what I thought was my missing piece. You see, we read earlier, and she shall follow after her lovers, but she shall not overtake them. And she shall seek them, but she shall not find them. Then shall she say, I will go and return to my first husband, for then was it better with me than now. I think what the word was really saying was Gomer said, I wasn't missing out on anything. I was just too blind to see it. I think I'll go home now. I'm just fine without what I was told was my missing piece. Hosea purchases Gomer, his own wife. He had to purchase and bring her back for 50 shekels of silver and 1/2 homers of barley. I think the conversation on the way home may have went something like this. Because what shocked me, Pastor, most of all, I was shocked when I found out that Hosea meant salvation. But I think on the way back home, Hosea had to say, Gomer, what in the world was you thinking? Why would you ever think that you were missing a piece? Gomer, don't you realize your name means complete? The whole time you were searching, you weren't missing a piece at all. It was a lie that the enemy had sowed into your head. You were complete from the start. How, Gomer, how? In spite of it all, Hosea brings Gomer home. She finally realizes the missing piece was all a lie, but she was complete in salvation and with salvation. No more roaming. She now sings, I am more complete without my missing piece. Eve cries out because her search seemed to lead to a road of no repair. And I have to think, and this is, you have to understand, my mind, I imagine all kind of, I would think, what if Eve and Gomer could have sat down and had coffee together? What if they could have compared notes? I believe it would have went something like this. I would have believed Eve would have been crying and say, you know what, Gomer, I'm so happy for you. Yeah, you messed up, and yeah, you went on a search for your missing piece because you thought you were missing out. But Gomer, you were so lucky because Hosea came and brought you back. My story's a lot different than yours, Gomer. You see, mine didn't just make my life miserable, but all of mankind suffers because of mine. Because I thought I was missing out on that one piece. And she probably would weep and cry and sob. It's just no repair. There's no way of ever going back. There's nothing I can do to fix it. Forever, my journey for my missing piece has affected the course of all mankind. But then somehow I think the Lord would have let her hear in the distance. Eve would have said, what is that noise that I hear? It sounds like the ringing of a hammer and some nails. I think I hear a crowd as they cry out, crucify him, crucify him, crucify the King of the Jews. And from a hill far away, I believe the Lord would cry out, Eve, I know you messed up. I know you went on a journey. I know you thought you were missing out. And I know you lost some things. I know you lost some pieces. But I'm come to bring them back to you. I'm fixing to restore you, Eve. I'm fixing to bring back all the pieces that you've lost. I'm bringing Hosea back. Eve, I'm bringing your Hosea. I'm bringing your salvation. And not just for you, but for all mankind. Once again, man can be complete in Jesus Christ. as it was back then, Eve. Eve, with 3 spikes and a cross, I will build a bridge back to bring fallen man back to me. Jesus was sold for 30 pieces of silver by Judas. And I read it was the equivalent of 15 shekels of silver and 1/2 homer of barley. The very price that Hosea paid for Gomer. See what Jesus was saying to all mankind? I know you walked out on me in search of your missing piece, but I love you, and I'm paying the price to buy you back from your slavery. I want you back home, married to me, salvation, and complete in me. He wants you to know you never lacked when you were in Him. The spirit of the missing piece only leads us to forfeit the blessed life and all the other pieces He has blessed us with. I know I've shared it many, many times, but I just feel compelled to share it again. Most of you can tell this story better than I can tell it, but I feel to share it. In my younger years, the devil come to me and told me, Danny, you're missing a piece. I was trying to do all the right things, and I watched people that were playing church, and it looked like they were being blessed. I'm like, God, I don't understand. I don't understand this right now, Lord. I'm not perfect. I've failed many times. I'm still a work in progress. To this day, I'm a work in progress. But I honestly want to be saved, Lord, and I'm trying to do right. And there's some people out there that's just, they're not even trying, Lord, and it looks like they're just being blessed hand over fist. And I'm like, and the enemy was constantly, yeah, you're missing a piece. Look at all the fun they're having, and you're missing out. And Sister Betty Springer, I've told you, she was a pretty big woman, spiritually and physically. And she always had her Holy Ghost radar on. And we were all at the altar, and the men were on this side and the ladies over here. They were singing Too Much to Gain to Lose. Anybody remember that old song? I've crossed the hot burning desert. And I'm sitting there, and I seen Sister Betty Springer. She was about over here. And she was just praying, and she was weeping and crying in the Holy Ghost. And I seen her drop her arms, and she turned around, and she went through here. And as soon as she got right here, I must have had my Holy Ghost radar on, because I knew where she was going. I said, she's coming around, and she's going to get me. So I'm over here, probably about right in front of where Sister Kim is. And I'm just sitting there waiting, because I sit there and I watch her. She goes all the way around the back. She comes up the side. And Pastor, that lady grabbed me, and she bear hugged me. And y'all not going to believe this, but I was probably about 130 pounds at that time. I was like this. It really is. I got pictures to prove it. Back it up. But she grabbed me, and she picked me up off the floor. And she started weeping, and she had an Indian war cry, and it was in my ear. And she said, Brother Danny, she said, the Lord told me to tell you there's blessings and faithfulness. What she was saying is, don't go searching for that missing piece that the enemy told you you're missing out on. But if you'll just hold on, it's going to pay off. You're just fine without that missing piece. Just hold on just a little bit longer. And I began to weep that night, because that night I could have made some very wrong decisions. And don't get me wrong, I've messed up. I've had to come to this altar. But I could have made some terrible decisions. But a lady basically told me, it's a lie. You're not missing a piece at all. I urge you today, beware of the spirit of the missing piece. Colossians 2:8-15 clearly says, beware lest anyone cheat you through philosophy and empty deceit, according to the tradition of men, according to the basic principles of the world, and not according to Christ. For in him dwells all the fullness of the Godhead bodily, and you are complete in him, who is the head of all principality and power. In him you are also circumcised with circumcision, made without hands, by putting off the body of the sin of the flesh and the circumcision of Christ, buried with him in baptism, in which you also were raised with him through faith in the working of God, who raised him from the dead. And you, being dead in your trespasses and the uncircumcision of your flesh, he made alive together with him, having forgiven you all your trespasses, having wiped out the handwriting of requirements that was against us, which was contrary to us, and he has taken it out of the way, having nailed it to the cross, having disarmed principalities and powers, he made public spectacle of them, triumphing over them all. So you sit here today, and like Adam and Eve, we know how to sit here in his presence. Time and time again, we feel the warm breezes of heaven blow. We sit in his presence, but a voice tells us, oh, but you're missing something. Yeah, I know it's good when I come to church, and it feels awesome. And I have so much going for me, but I feel a tugging like there's more than what I have. Beware of the missing piece. It's a journey that will lead you far, further than you ever want it to go. You are complete in him. Everything that I've ever needed, I found in the Lord. In times of trouble, he's been my help. In times when I'm weak, he's my strength. And I'm here to tell you, your missing piece cannot do that for you. It will only leave you empty, and you'll find out the thing you thought you're missing, you weren't really missing at all. The missing piece is a lie, and it's still alive today, and the enemy is still using it. And I'm here to warn somebody, beware of the missing piece. It's a journey that you don't want to go. You'll find it all right here. You don't lack. Everything you need is right here. Don't go wandering off like the prodigal son. You'll only find yourself returning back, and you'll find out the missing piece was a lie. If I could warn anybody, beware of the journey. The devil may be speaking to you and telling you that you're missing out on something. Young people and old people alike. The voice that keeps you up at night, telling you that there's more for you and that you should try this, you should go here, you should go there. It's a lie. And it will end in nothing good. Stay in the ark. Don't go chasing after rainbows. You'll find you weren't missing a piece at all. It was just a lie.